Hey up everybody, and welcome back to the I'll Do Cycling YouTube channel, where today we're going to be taking a look at the Veneto Classic. This is the last round of the Superclasico. We have made it all the way through, and I almost can't believe it. It's been a really long season, and yeah, we've had a couple of cancelled races along the way, but we're going to try and finish off strongly and really secure this top 10, which I'm in at the moment. So, taking a look at the stage profile, we've got 192 kilometers and 2,000 meters of climbing to do. I say we, like I'm a rider doing it. This is obviously I'm not. And yeah, it's a lap circuit. There's a small kind of gravel climb here, which is quite hard to see, but that's 400 meters at kind of 9%. Then you get this kind of very gradual kind of taxing climb, and then you have a longer gravel sector, which includes a 1.4 kilometer, 8% climb in there, and then lastly, just a really top finish off another 400 meters at like 14%. Sorry, so it's a really tough race. And last year, Formula One, after not really showing any sort of indication that he was in particularly good form before the race, so therefore you can get a very just weird winner sometimes who isn't very predictable. So we'll see if we can figure out who that person might be in this video. But the obvious favourite is Mark Hirschi. Obviously it's an Italian race and it's like a .pro, so therefore Mark Hirschi you have to put onto your team. Hirschi will no doubt be leading UAE Team Emirates, and therefore you should be putting him on. Groves, as I predicted, didn't do very well in the Giro del Veneto, and this race suits him even less, so I wouldn't be picking him. Ulissi, you might decide to go with, just because I think he is the second strongest UAE Team Emirates rider, so he might get assist points and he may finish inside the top 10. However, he didn't last that long in the Giro del Veneto. Oh, and it's also worth noting that maybe the gravel sectors might get taken out if the weather takes a bad turn, which at the moment it looks like it might not do. So that's where I'm going to be basing my premise of a lot of my thinking. Ulissi, I just think that there are probably going to be better choices and maybe more exciting ones than banking on the assist points in a Category 3 race. For me, Ulissi just hasn't shown that great form that we saw in sort of earlier on in the season. Formula, of course, he won this race last year. He seems to be quite a big fan of gravel races. He actually does quite well in Stradale most of the time. And obviously he won this race last year. And I think that Formula will be wanting to try and do well here again. It's going to be, as the defending champion, it's going to be hard to repeat what he did last year, because obviously people will be marking him a little bit more. But I think Formula could be a top 10. Johannesson, on the other hand, was one of the people who'd almost did the reverse of the trend last year, which is that people who usually do well in the Giro del Veneto, the first race, tend to do quite well in the Veneto Classic. But Johannesson, and I think it was like Dorian Godon last year, were the two who really did the opposite and did badly. So that definitely goes to show that people who do well in the first race don't necessarily always do well in the second race. So it's worth keeping that in mind. But Johannesson, again, I'm not overly keen, just because he was 10th in the Giro del Veneto, and I think that race suited him more. And there were people who finished ahead of him who I would have expected him to be beating, so that's a little bit of a drawback for me. But saying that, I do think he should be in the top 15. Rota, I think Rota's a good choice. He was top 10 in the Giro del Veneto, and I think that he'll be leading into Marseille. I think he should be a top 10 in this race. He's a pretty safe pick. And I'm not sure if he'll be winning, but I think that Rota's a pretty safe one. Corbin Strong, he was 12th in this race last year, so he can obviously survive these sorts of climbs, but I don't think he'll be really in that front group. Personally, I think he'll be more towards where he was last year. Maybe he'll be fighting for somewhere between 5th to 10th on a really good day if things are a little bit controlled. If it's more chaotic, I think he'll be more realistically like 10th to 20th that he'll be finishing. This is a race more suited towards the attackers, but Corbin Strong, yeah, as the winner of the race the other day, the Giro del Veneto, in theory he is the person who you should be picking on your team. But like I said, I used that logic last year, and then Dorian Godon didn't do very well in the Giro del Veneto, in the Veneto Classic. Sorry, so it's worthwhile keeping that in mind, that this isn't going to be some sort of reduced sprint. More than likely, between 20 odd riders, it's going to be people in their 1s and 2s. The 14 credit riders, Gregoire, another good choice. He was on the podium the other day, so I think that he's a nice safe one to be picking as well. Velasco, possibly Astana. I've got a few options. Funnily enough, Velasco just hasn't been in particularly good form recently. I'm not really sure why. I really thought that after the Giro dell'Emilia, where he was in the top 15, I thought he looked pretty good, but he just hasn't continued that recently. So I'm not overly confident in Velasco. Zana, on the other hand, he was top 20 in the Giro del Veneto, despite doing a lot of work in the flatter terrain, marking the move of Pellizzari in the final few kilometres. So Zana, I think, with a bit more protection maybe this time round, and a little bit more order in the Jacob Alula team, which, by the way, they've only got 5 riders in this race, not the kind of usual 6 or 7, I think, that they're allowed. So Zana, I think, is good. I think Zana could be a top 10, and he was in the podium this race last year, so definitely worthwhile picking him. Zimmerman, I think, honestly, they'd be going for Rota. I think Zimmerman will just be a domestique. Champassin has DNF'd the last 2 Italian races that he's done, and they were both one-day races. That doesn't fill me with a lot of confidence. I wouldn't be picking Champassin, even if the course does suit him. He is a very good puncher. So maybe if he does finish on the podium, I am going to look like a right idiot. But I'm going to say I wouldn't recommend Champassin. Mollard, again, he was working for, I think they'll be working for Gregoire. He's the better shot that they've got. Mollard, I know I was talking him up last time, but I think Mollard will more than likely just be a domestique. But it's definitely more of a climbing style of course, and Mollard could certainly come into his own, whereas Gregoire's more of a puncher. So I don't know, maybe they swap this time round. It's possible. Into the 10 credit riders, Battistello. He was top 10 in this race last year. He was top 20 the other day. He's clearly in decent form. So I think that he'll be leading Astana. Alongside, maybe there's somebody else who's in a 4 credit rider who could be a quite rogue pick if you're looking for one. So Battistella, a good one for a top 10, I would say. Just because I think he was probably just blowing the cobwebs off. And he's in a contract year, so he needs to get a good result. Rubio was 11th. In the Giro del Veneto, I would not consider him to be a one-day racer. And honestly, with the steeper gradients they're becoming, I wouldn't be surprised if Rubio was in the side of the top 10, even though he has very little one-day race pedigree. So watch out for Rubio, actually. I think he could be a bit of a surprise. The 8 credit riders, Charmig has been okay in a recent Japanese race, where he was beaten by Lucas Nerurka and Jeanière. So I don't know, Charmig, but we're clutching at straws here. Maybe Charmig might be leading Astana in a co-leadership with Battistella, but I would doubt it. Morisa, another one who you probably need to be picking because he was on the podium the other day. He's clearly in good form, so Morisa is a good one. You are probably not going to be using 100 credits on this team, so probably just get that out of your thinking right now. Mattia Bice, he was 6th the other day, I want to say, or 7th. I think it was 6th. Mattia Bice, I mean, if he finished 6th the other day, he'll probably be doing okay in this race as well. And other than that, you could put an argument for Foldaga. I would say that they're going with Zana or De Preto, more than likely. Foldaga, I would have thought the race the other day, the Giro del Veneto, would have suited him a bit more. That's why I picked him. And he was 20-something. So I would suggest avoiding him just because this race is harder. And therefore, it'll probably mean that he will finish lower down. Leknesund, Magli, I talked about the other day. He was in kind of some moves the other day. So obviously, he kind of blew his sprint. So maybe you could put it all on Magli again. I think more likely it would be you'd be better off going with Pellizzari. Good in Giro in Il Lombardia. He was good the other day. And therefore, I think Pellizzari could be another one for a top 15 as a minimum, is how I would... that's what I think. I think Pellizzari is just looking really strong at the moment. And then into the 4 credit riders. Depreto, obviously, he was 4th the other day. So therefore, I think he should be up there, trying to fight for a top 10 once more. And I'm trying to think of who this other Astana rider was, who I was thinking about. I think it was Toniati. He was 9th in the Giro del Veneto the other day. So yeah, if you're looking for a really, really interesting pick, go with Toniati just for the big differential. And other than that, I'm probably missing some people, but I think that's about it. It feels a little bit lackluster in the start list, I must admit. It's not like some big crescendo finish to the year. This is my team at the moment. As you can see, it costs 76 credits, which is pretty cheap. Hershey, Gregoire and Morissa are my secure. These people are looking in good form and they suit the terrain. And then I've got the risky 3 where I've got Zana, Rubio and Pellizzari. Honestly, you could mix and change any number of these. You could not go with Pellizzari. I would honestly be quite tempted to go with Toniati. If somebody does, and he does well, just please come back to the comment sections, because that'd be really hilarious to see. Maybe I wouldn't go with Rubio, but some of these people I've just got a good gut feeling. I might, I could go with Rota actually instead, just because Rota did better the other day. So I could do something like that. I'm feeling quite good about Zana because he podiumed the other last year. So he's obviously a pretty big fan of this race. So maybe I'll go with something like that. But let me know what you're thinking in the comment sections down below. Are there any riders which I've missed which could help propel me into the top 5? I think I've got another. If I reminds, should we take a look? Actually, team standings. I am here. 37,722, and to get on the podium I need to get like another 400 points delta, which is going to be quite hard to do in a category 3 race. So if you see who could get me up there, then put it in the comments, and also put your teams in the comment sections down below. And also just thank you for this year. This is the last preview of the year, and I will be doing a roundup of my performances this year, and also I will do another video of the best points per credit riders that I've seen throughout the year. So there's be 2 more videos coming out on the channel, but obviously the people who are watching this video at this point are the really die-hard fans, the 500 of you who watch these random category 3 races. And I just want to say, thank you to you all, especially because you are the people who I can always come and talk to in the comments, because you're just as completely nuts about Velogames as I am. So thank you all for a great 2024, and I look forward to doing hopefully just as well in 2025 in this competition, but also doing better in some of the other stage races. So thank you very much for a good 2024, and all that is left to say is to stay safe out there, and I will see you in the next couple of roundup videos. Salut!